Does your mom vape 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and never puts it down? My mom vapes all day. She's always got her vape in her hand. I swear, the clouds of smoky glow are like ridiculous.
I vape pretty much all day and all night. The first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is I grab my vape. I mean, I'm not really even sucking it down to my lungs. I just like the smoke part. I love to have my vape when I'm driving in the car. There was one time I dropped it and I had to pull off on the side of the highway to reach underneath my seat to get it. My daughter is constantly on my back about my vaping. She has nicknames for me, and it's just getting ridiculous.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Sorry. This is my mom, Vape God, AKA Carissa. I have a vlog channel on social media, and I document moments in my life, and my mom is featured on there a lot. Hey. And I felt like I had to acknowledge it, because it's like, who else's mom is out here just vaping?
It helps calm my nerves. This one's a good flavor too.
I feel like originally she did it to replace cigarettes, but now it's just such a habit, she just doesn't stop.
I don't think vaping is as bad as cigarettes, so I don't know why it bothers my daughter so much.
She doesn't want to believe that it could potentially be dangerous. She's like, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about me, nothing's gonna happen to me.
I don't feel like it's the end of the world or it's some kind of serious problem. It's just a vape.
Okay, Alexa, you're concerned about this.
I am, because I feel like we don't know the long-term effects of vaping.
But you don't do it.
No, I mean, I've socially done it before, but I don't,
Right.
it's not something I would just do regularly, no.
Okay. And you've talked to your mom about it
I have, I've sent her articles,
a couple
I've talked
hundred
to her.
times.
Yeah, I
And-
ask her all the time. I'm like, why can't you stop? Are you ever gonna stop?
And what kind of articles are you sending her?
I mean, I've seen articles of people, you know, that have something wrong with their lungs, they're in the hospital.
Right.
Or even,
Ventilators, hospital, death. You've sent her all kinds of information about it, right?
right,
And usually it's a child who is the one that's out here and the parent is saying, hey, you know, my kid's doing something self-destructive. They're ignorant of this. They're just arrogant thinking they're bulletproof. But we got a role reversal here because we've got the child bringing mom out here and you're saying, this is no problem. You're studying to be what?
Substance abuse counselor?
Substance abuse counselor,
Yes.
ironic.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And you say, how far into the program are you?
Not that far. I'm like 3 to 6 months in.
Uh-huh. And you're saying that they haven't mentioned anything about vaping?
We haven't started that chapter. No.
Yeah, nobody said a word about that.
No, we
Do
really.
they see you vaping?
No. They don't see it.
Well, but you do it all the time. You say
Yeah,
it's-
no. I do it all the time, but I do like school online. So when I'm
okay.
on school, I don't do it.
Okay, so you don't
Yeah.
do it where instructors can see you.
Right.
Uh-huh. And do you think you're addicted to it?
Pretty sure I am. Yeah.
Because you say it's always in your mom's hand.
I mean, it's literally in her hand right now. It's always in her hand, yeah.
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 Is that like a pacifier for you, a safety?
Yeah, I think so. Now I've just got to where I do everything. If I don't have it in my hand, it's weird.
Yeah. I pulled some statements out that you made about it that just throughout your interview that I thought were interesting. You said, it's just vapor and nicotine. What's the big deal?
Uh-huh.
No way vaping is as bad as cigarettes. Maybe I'm immune.
Yeah.
I'm addicted, but I could stop if I had to. Going to school to be a substance abuse counselor. And I found that an interesting group of statements when I pulled them all together.
Yeah. They look pretty interesting now that I'm
Yeah.
looking at them.
It's just water and nicotine.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the fact that it's nicotine?
I don't really like nicotine. I didn't think that was like terrible for you. I mean, I know it's like addictive, but I didn't think it was like horrible for you.
We just had the
Have
conversation.
and you say you panic if you can't find that thing.
Oh yeah. I'll go. I mean, if I
You
don't
pulled
have-
over in traffic, side of the road to get it when it went under the seat.
Yeah, I did. I had to.
Yeah.
I didn't even see how much
nicotine was in this. How much is in there?
Here,
What does that say?
That smells pretty good, actually. I wouldn't want to ingest that into my lungs. There's so much smoke there, it's ridiculous.
Ooh, hell, I can't even see.
There's one thing that you've been saying that just has my head spinning. Two things really. One, you're studying to be a substance abuse counselor. You've been a substance abuser. You say you have an addictive personality, so you know that you're prone to that. So you must recognize the behavior pattern that you're in where you can't turn loose of this thing, that you pull over in traffic, you panic if you can't find it. So you must know that this is a dependency issue for you.
Right.
No matter what's in it, that this is a dependency issue for you. But you said, I think it's safe. I think there's no problem with it. I think it's no big deal. That's what's got my head spinning, because this isn't a matter of opinion. This is a matter of science. There have been scientific study after scientific study after scientific study that says that's wrong. But you say, I think this. So do you just reject science?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that it's completely healthy, but I'm sure there are some bad things about it, but I've never really studied it or looked into it. And it's just I don't want to hear about all the negative stuff because I like doing it, which I know that sounds terrible too when it comes out of my mouth.
Well, it sounds really immature. I put down just a few talking points. It gives you an increase in blood pressure, heart rate, flow of blood to the heart, narrowing of the arteries. Nicotine contributes to hardening of the arteries, may lead to a heart attack. It's as addictive as heroin or cocaine. There's substantially more nicotine to the blood per puff than cigarettes. Some vapes have 8 times higher nicotine than you would get in a cigarette.
God.
In 2020, there were 2,807 hospitalizations and 68 people died from doing what you're doing.
I really never dove into.
I'll text her an article and I'm like, hey mom, or a video I see on the internet and of people being like, don't vape, I'm in the hospital. And she's like, whatever, don't text me back, doesn't read it. She probably doesn't even open it.
No, I don't like seeing it, and I just don't watch it.
I don't think she's really
Well, that's tremendous denial, right? Because that's what I said. I'm curious, is you're saying, I think this, when you can verify that. It's like saying, I think it's not raining outside, when you could actually go look out the window and see.
Right.
Is that what's unhealthy? Is that, I mean, obviously anything addictive is not healthy. That sounds stupid. But is that bad for your health just to have nicotine?
Well,
or is it the added stuff?
I didn't think that nicotine was horrible.
Because sugar's addicting.
Yeah. Where do you think this nicotine comes from?
I don't actually know. I don't know what the actual nicotine consists of. I've never looked into the nicotine part.
Wow.
We are learning North Texas was home to the youngest person so far to die in this nationwide vaping epidemic.
You can really get severe illness and even death from short-term use of these products.
2 more people have died from vaping-related illnesses, this time in Minnesota. Both the CDC and the FDA have issued warnings for people to avoid vaping.
Reese says she's lucky to not be a vaping death statistic after her experience left her on life support.
They found fluid in my lungs and diagnosed me with pneumonia, and they found out my lungs were collapsing. They put me on oxygen and life support. I thought that I was going to die.
Well, Alexa says she is desperate to learn how her mother's vaping addiction is going to affect her in the long term. So I reached out to my good friend and an expert on this, Dr. Daniel Amen. Now, Dr. Amen is a psychiatrist, #1 New York Times best-selling author, and founder of the Amen Clinics with 9 locations across the United States. Now, his clinics have the world's largest database of brain scans for psychiatry, totaling more than 160,000 scans on patients from 150 different countries. Now, Dr. Amen's newest book is Your Brain is Always Listening. Dr. Amen, before I ask you about this specifically, talk to us a little bit about Your Brain is Always Listening. Tame the hidden dragons that control your happiness, habits, and hang-ups, because I love this. And talk to us a little bit about what you're addressing here.
Well, thank you so much. Your brain is always listening to the influences, past, present, and even what you're worried about in the future. There's a section on the dragons from the past, which are the big psychological issues like abandonment or being wounded, or mine, the abandoned, invisible, or insignificant dragon. I'm one of 7, and I'm 3rd, which means I was completely expendable and not special. Well, those issues sort of follow you your whole life, and if you never deal with them, one of the dragons is the death dragon. With the pandemic, it's just breathing fire on so many children today. Right. And it's really, so what dragons do you have, and how can you tame them so you can live in the present rather than being haunted by the past?
Right. You say that Carissa is actually wearing out the pleasure centers in her brain, and that she vapes to feel normal, not because she really enjoys it. Tell her what you mean by that.
Well, you have reward centers or pleasure centers in your brain, and they respond to this neurotransmitter called dopamine. So you're learning that in your substance abuse course, right? But if you put too much dopamine on them, you wear them out. And so over time, you need more and more to begin to feel anything at all. And nicotine releases dopamine a lot. And in the new book, I have an addicted dragon recovery program. So I reimagined the 12 steps. So the 12 steps for addictions was actually developed 85 years ago, and there's no neuroscience. So I thought, well, what if a neuroscientist reimagined those 12 steps? And one of the steps is drip dopamine. So get little bits of dopamine, which from interacting with your children, from going on a date, from eating a wonderful food, as opposed to what you're doing is dumping dopamine.
Talk a little bit about nicotine, because she thinks nicotine might not be bad for you. She thinks.
Yeah, it's not innocuous. I mean, it decreases blood flow to the brain. Anything that decreases blood flow to the brain prematurely ages the brain.
My 20-year-old stepson is entitled, lacks motivation, and hasn't chosen a path for his life. My stepson's goals are unrealistic and unattainable for him. He wants to be an influencer, but in order to do that, you really have to work the craft.
My son Damien wants to be a singer. I barely hear him sing. He just thinks everything's gonna work out for him. He doesn't practice, he doesn't put much effort. My son's laziness and motivation is 11 out of a 10. Damien vapes nicotine on a daily basis. He was 16 when he started vaping. All my son does is sleep and play video games.
When he's playing his video games, he gives tutorials on where to go, how to unlock certain content, how to beat certain levels. Damien likes to post dances on social media. He loves himself. Damien doesn't have a job because he's waiting for his social media career to skyrocket, whether it be with music or with his gaming or just being famous for being famous. He feels like me and his mom should take care of everything, his rent, his food.
I do everything for Damien. It's the norm for me.
My wife was buying his clothes, she was doing his laundry, she was giving him food, she was giving him money to hang out with his friends. She was 100% fully supporting Damien's life. I've tried everything to help get him self-sufficient. My stepson has been fired from at least 8 jobs. He might be turning 21, But mentally, I feel like he's 16. Damien's my son as far as I'm concerned, and we can't continue to foster this behavior.
It's hard for me to find a job when I'm not passionate about the work that I'm doing. I'm making a really big effort on my online channel. I have the looks, the drive, and the talent to do it. I don't want to lose, I just want to gain.
You've got a lazy young man on your hands. Is that what you're telling me?
We sure do.
Oh yeah, pretty much. You know, we've tried just about everything to kind of get him going and get him started, you know, let him realize that he's 20 and that these jobs are really one in a million lottery ticket jobs, you know, that he has to actually work for money like the rest of us.
Carrie, where are you on what Stephen is saying? Are you enabling this young man? Are you making it possible for him to be lazy, to feel entitled, to sit around and play video games, to have this vision of getting rich on the internet? Are you doing that?
Yeah, I am. I pay for everything. As long as he's doing well and not getting in trouble, he usually gets whatever he needs.
Okay, you just said doing well. Define doing well.
He's not getting in trouble. He's helping up around the house.
That's a pretty low bar. And you fund his vaping habit? Do you buy this stuff for him?
I did when he started turning 18. And then when it turned to 21, I told him he's got to do it himself.
So you've actually been buying this for him and giving it to him and letting him stay in his room to become an influencer and an R&B singer.
Yes. I just need to get rid of the guilt. Like, I get upset because I'm just afraid for him to go out in this world. Like, I don't think he's ready.
You know, as a father, I feel like I'm failing him because I don't have him ready to leave the house. And it's not about him leaving the house per se. It's just about him earning a decent living, being able to take care of himself.
And Carrie, you've not done him any favors, and you're not doing him any favors if you don't require him to step up, man up, and start pulling his own weight.
One time, Damien was arrested for stealing a mocha frappuccino. He went to the store while he was in the checkout line, realized that he didn't have his wallet. He took off running. When they called the police, he ran from the police on his bicycle. He actually got charged with theft under $100, and he wound up having to pay $55 in court costs for a $3 frappuccino, not to mention 30 hours of community service. And it's on his record. So I started calling him the Mocha Bandit, because who gets in trouble for stealing a $3 drink?
I have what it takes to be a really good influencer and a musician. I have the looks, the drive, and the talent to do it. I'm making a really big effort on my online channel. I stream video games and show tips and tricks on how to finish the game. I have 100 views on my channel, and it's growing. I have 6 videos on my channel. By the end of the year, I would like to have at least 500,000 views. I post dancing videos on social media, and I post them every day. I want to share my music to my social media to get it out there. I want it to go viral. I don't want to lose, I just want to gain. I just want to come back and be on the same page. It's hard for me to find a job when I'm not passionate about the work that I'm doing. I was fired from my last job for a snow day. I shouldn't have been there anyways. I'm not risking my life for, some minimum wage job. My mom didn't show me work ethic, and she babied me for most of my life. My stepdad is pressuring me to get a real job. It irritates me. It's not his place because he's only been there for 2 years. I definitely feel like there's something bigger out there for me.
Well, joining us virtually is Damien. Damien, how you doing?
Oh, good. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. So you're going to be a social media influencer. What kind of influence are you going to bring to the table?
I'm trying to do everything. I'm trying to show people how to do stuff that people don't show other people in videos.
Like, for example?
Like I said, the tips and tricks. It's a lot of stuff into it. I still had to do a lot of editing. When I was young, I didn't have the talent that I had now.
And what is your talent now that you'll use as a social media influencer?
Talent now is to do video games, walkthroughs. It's a lot of little stuff. It takes little steps into being the sensation I'm trying to be when I get older.
I looked at your social media stats so far, and on YouTube you have 6 subscribers, 7 videos, and 98 total views. On Instagram you have 446 followers. You've put up 105 posts. On TikTok you have 23 posts and 538 followers and 38,701 views. And you have 15 shares.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not that. It's still a come up.
And the average influencer spends 40 to 90 hours a week working on their brand. You're not putting in 60 to 90 hours a week, right?
No, and that's because of all the jobs and all the other stuff I do around the house. And I did sleep a lot when I was like 3 months ago, I was sleeping a little bit too much.
Here's the thing with YouTube, the top 3.5% of YouTube's most viewed channels have 1 million video views a month, and that generates $12,000 to $16,000 a year in ad revenue. That's the top 3.5%. Only make $12,000 to $16,000 a year in ad revenue. To even qualify to have ads, you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time over the past year before you can even sell ads.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's where I had to put more time in.
Damien had really bad anger issues growing up. When Damien didn't get his way, he would throw things. He threw chairs at teachers. He threw chairs at me. He would run out the house. I parented out of guilt because his father wasn't around.
Mom moves around about 12 times. I would get angry because of the transition and to get that positive reinforcement, to have a stable life and friends. She had 6 long-term boyfriends before Steven. I was constantly losing my father figures. Life growing up was really hard.
You've been listening to my conversation with him. Does it seem like he's being realistic?
I don't think he's being realistic as far as I think he could work on it a lot more before he tries to put himself out there and have a plan B to get him through, you know what I mean, the hard times where this isn't going to take him right away.
Well, I think a dream is fine, but you've got to support yourself while you're doing it, or until you get it out there. You've got to bridge that gap. And I looked at the 8 jobs that Damien has had and the reasons that he lost them, and the excuses were pretty simple. Snowing, racist, too hot, no car license, scared that he would get beat up, he would fail the drug test, my mom babied me, I didn't have a stable environment, no college, and GPA was low, and failed the test at the Army. So, I mean, he says his boss was racist, he quit. It was snowing one day, he's not gonna risk his life. It was too hot.
Yeah. Right.
But, I mean, come on, we don't just do the jobs we like.
Well, since I've been in the picture, that's what I've been trying to, tell Damien and show him through my work ethic. Nobody really likes to work. It's just an inevitability of life. We all have bills. We all have to take care of things. You can't just go to a grocery store and buy food on looks,
But
So
not
you
if
have
your
to put the
mother's
work
paying all your bills.
Yeah, not that either.
You're absolutely right. We want him to be prepared, and that's what my goal is, and that's what my job is. It's, dad now, is to make sure all my children are prepared. And that's where I feel like I'm failing Damien, because everything that I've attempted over the past 2 years, Everything I've tried to show him, it seems like it doesn't stick, or like I feel like I'm failing him.
Did y'all hear, he says he's going to be a social media influencer and he's going to get famous doing that. Did y'all hear his numbers versus the minimum entry numbers to being able to do what he wants to do?
Yeah, I saw that, and that's one of the things that's also, tell him. I said, if you're going to do it, you got to put the time in.
Some people do that, Damien, and you need to assume that you're not one of them. And you need to get a real job and assume you're not one of them. As it turns out that you are, and you're one of those people that makes $12,000 to $16,000 a year, then that's great. But you need to assume that ain't you, and get a job in the meantime. And then if you can turn it into that, great. But if not, you've got a job. Well, Dr. Amen is joining us again. He was weighing in on this earlier. Now, Carrie, you vape as well as Damien, correct?
Yes. I quit smoking cigarettes 8 years ago.
Yeah, that wasn't a question.
Okay. Yes.
The question was, do you vape?
I do vape, yes.
When you talk about dragons and you talk about vaping hijacking the pleasure centers and influencing judgment, that's a factor here.
There's so many dragons that mom has the should and shaming dragon and the responsible dragon, where she feels responsible for him, but to the point where she's creating this special spoiled and entitled dragon in her son. And it's so frustrating because he didn't do well in school. And with video games, they steal the dopamine in our brain. With vaping, he's got a developing brain. Damien, your brain's not going to finish developing until you're 25. And so from the time you were 16, and his stepdad said he's still acting like he's 16, when you start a drug, and let's not lie to ourselves, nicotine is a drug.
Clearly.
It actually can stop development.
It's a highly addictive drug.
It's a highly addictive drug. And so when you start at 16, even though you stop at 25, emotionally, you're still 16. And so it's not enhancing the health of his brain, which is going to leave him behind. And so helping him be responsible, giving them a plan, it's not going to happen overnight. But we also have to talk about what's the health of his brain like. It's probably not good. Early on, we talked about he was assaulted. And so head trauma, which you and I have talked about so much,
right.
There are reasons why he's had 8 jobs. And part of it is his brain is not as healthy as it could be.
Right. So, guys, let's just get to the bottom line here. I think that Damien is kidding himself with his strategy that this is how he's going to make it in this world. The chance of that happening is like winning the lottery. You just might as well go buy a lottery ticket. You got as much chance of making it in the music business or becoming a social influencer to the point of becoming rich and famous as you do winning the lottery. So I'm telling you, just realistically, that's not going to happen. And if he wants to hold on to that dream, that's great. Your job as parents is for him to pay his own way while he's pursuing that dream. He's had 8 jobs. What does that tell you? It tells you he can get a job. He got 8 jobs this year. He's a good job getter. He needs to get a job and keep a job, and it doesn't matter if he's having fun, if he likes the job or not. He should get a job and be working 40, 50 hours a week and contributing to that household. You need to stop vaping. Mom, Stephen, you need to stop. Damien needs to stop. That is not a good thing to be doing. And it's not good for you health-wise. It's not good for you brain-wise. It puts you at risk. It causes problems with concentration. It causes problems with motivation. It hijacks your pleasure centers. All of this stuff adds up to exactly where you guys are, which is stuck. If you will do what I'm saying, you will start to see changes immediately. He has to learn to be a self-sufficient young man, and that won't happen until it's required.
Her mom is addicted to vaping.
You're concerned about this.
We don't know the long-term effects of vaping.
It's time for a dose.
You got the child bringing mom out here, and you're saying, this is no problem.
Of reality.
It's literally in her hand right now.
New Dr. Phil. Check your local listings.